Hey everyone, you're watching Prime Talks. Hey, thanks for joining us. It's Thursday, April 14th, 2022. This is episode 6 of Prime Talks. I've been off for a few weeks on vacation, so excited to be back and joined by one of the 11 elected emissary primes, EPs of the Echelon Prime Foundation, related to our favorite game, Parallel. So we've got Mick here. And Mick, thanks so much for joining me. How are you doing? Welcome to Prime Talks.
Thank you. Thanks, DeFi Dad. Yeah, I'm excited to be joining the show. Long-time watcher, first time.
Absolutely. Caller. Yeah. Actually, and like per usual, we're starting a few minutes late because Mick and I were just having a gab session talking about all of our favorite parallel cards and so on. So, Mick, I want to get your perspective on, what Parallel and the Echelon Prime Foundation means for like the future of gaming. But before we talk more about that, maybe you could share a little bit about your background. I'm curious, like what you can share about your career, and then maybe a little bit about like how you got into Parallel in the first place.
Yeah. So my background is in marketing and startups in kind of the maybe pre-Web3 space, and now kind of moving more into the Web3 space. I've been lucky enough to touch some pretty major, U.S. brands and global brands. Been able to work for a couple of years, leading some marketing efforts for some games you've probably heard of, like Call of Duty and Activision. I've worked a little bit on the Call of Duty League, and just on the whole, have kind of been in this space and interested for a while. The bleeding edge of tech is where I'm really fascinated, and obviously this growth of just the explosion of culture and kind of fascinating innovations that are happening in Web3 have really drawn me to this space. And once, because of my kind of overlap between gaming and this kind of bleeding edge of tech, Parallel was obviously one of the projects that captured my attention as soon as I saw it, and immediately kind of drew me in, like all of everyone listening, and like you. And yeah, here we are today.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, I think one of the parts of your background that I thought made you really well suited to be an emissary prime is not only have you worked with such enormous brands in gaming as a marketing expert, but I mean, you yourself, have always enjoyed playing trading card games, and so I think it gives you that sort of firsthand experience to know what already has created the community around Parallel. But I think what's next by being able to use NFTs and then all the different sorts of like Web3 DeFi protocols that are probably going to be able to plug into Parallel. So maybe you could talk a bit then about what do you feel like is the real opportunity here with Parallel? Like why is this like an inflection point in gaming in terms of what we're trying to build?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm a huge, for years and years, I've played Hearthstone, the trading card game. And because of kind of my proximity to work in the gaming space, was able to, I kind of know, at least vaguely what it takes to get a game in the world. And that's where, again, like when I first kind of learned about Parallel and how much they were investing into the art and the development of the game itself and the mechanics behind it, that a game design team, it became so clear that Parallel is miles and miles ahead of a lot that's happening in this space. TCGs are also just such an easy get, right? Trading card games and NFTs, like we can talk until the sun goes down about why that's kind of the match made in heaven. But why this is a pretty important inflection point for gaming as a whole is because a couple things. One is people are becoming more and more aware of the history that they have with the games that they play, right? You have a spot now where you have a generation of gamers who've played Fortnite since the time that they were 9 years old, 8 years old, and they've put now hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into that game, and a history that's gone with them in that game. They have skins that they remember a certain time and age group that they were in, that they were a part of when they used that skin with their friends, and maybe that squad's disbanded and gone on. There's these digital artifacts in games that, because gaming has become really a centerpiece of culture. These artifacts that we pick up along the way as we play games, especially live ops games, live operations, games that live forever and kind of evolve, they're becoming much bigger of a component of what gaming is as a thing. And it naturally leads to a place where you think about, why are these assets not something that I can take with me? These assets are something that I can actually have a value on besides the V-Bucks that I initially spent to buy it or the Robux that I spent in game to get it. There's a lot of interest that's happening in this space, but right now it's still happening a lot in walled gardens. Roblox has 11 million developers who are building on the platform, but it kind of ends inside the Roblox walled garden. The things that they build, the assets that they're building, they don't live somewhere else. They can't be transferred. You can buy it from a creator and it's exciting, but then the story kind of finishes up at that point. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Oh no, just sort of adding, like, I have been getting to experience like the wonder of like my own kids like discovering cards. So like my son is obsessed with Pokemon. He's like in kindergarten, and his friends, like, they just sit there with their folders, their booklets, whatever, and they're just flipping through cards, swapping them. And I mean, they're so young, and they're like, it's funny too, because I'm not sure if it was me that planted the idea in his head and his friends' heads, but I'll ask them like, how rare is that card? Or, what sort of skill does that card have? Or like, what sort of, just asking them questions to try to get them to think a little bit about it beyond just what it looks like visually. And man, it's hilarious. Some of them are starting to read, and they're making stuff up about it. Like, they're able to sort of pronounce the names of the different Pokemon cards. But my son is obsessed with the one physical card that I have, the one physical parallel card. So he's got this, and he literally comes into my office whenever he gets home from school, and he just wants to look at it. And then he asks me almost daily, like, when is he going to get a parallel card? But when I show him what a digital card, looks like, what it looks like on my phone or computer, he doesn't say like, oh, why is it on your computer? Why is it on your phone? He's so young, and it just feels natural. So I'm really excited for this like crossover of like the physical cards versus what we enjoy as NFTs. And the kids, I think, are ready to absorb that. There's not going to be like a hard transition to get them to adopt it. They're just like, oh yeah, of course, dad's got a phone. Everybody's got a phone. Everyone looks at their phone. That's where I'll keep my cards, on my phone.
100%. I think that I try to be a student of the internet and the way that it's changing us as human beings and the way that we like interact with each other. And that's such a good example of the way that there's a generational divide that we're really quickly approaching, especially in gaming. And we're seeing this play out. We don't need to get into the details of it, but the kind of conflict between Web3 and traditional gaming right now is playing out in a lot of online forums and a lot of events and things like that. There's truly like kind of a crux, which anytime there's a big, saltation and jump forward in evolution, we kind of have that type of, skirmishes, or kind of like that period of trying to overcome. One of the ways we can think about it is like, yes, kids think of the digital objects that they collect as attached to emotional memories with the thing that they have. The same way that I have an emotional memory with my Kevin Garnett rookie card that I got when I was, however years old as a kid. When I find that binder at the back, when I go visit my parents, I pull that card out. I remember when I got that, what it meant to me, the people that I like showed it to and who I traded for it. Like, what an interesting kind of compelling thing. And NFTs are creating that. We're creating all these mini narratives around these projects that we're collecting in parallel with the way that they're doing the pack drops, with the lore that they're building around these cards, with the way that we have people who are saying, oh, I'm Core, I'm Earthen. We're creating those types of like emotional connections even before the game is out with these objects that we're collecting, the NFTs. And then later when we play the game, we want to play the meta, but you also want to play your class. You want to play your Paragon. You have a story that you've been building this whole time leading up to it. Man, I just get really excited when I think about it.
Yeah, it's just a flood of memories. Like you said, it's funny too. I hadn't thought as much about my baseball cards growing up because my parents eventually gave them all away, and I collected tons of them, but I got to say, I never appreciated like the rarity of any of them. There's probably one in my past or a few that, maybe could have paid for like a college tuition. But so if we pivot away from, we're talking right now about what it means, what the cards mean, what NFTs can mean to us as collectors. What do you think this like new world that we're crafting through Parallel and the Echelon Prime Foundation, what does it mean for the creators?
Yeah. So this is a spot that, as a member of Echelon and kind of interacting with some of the Parallel team members, I'm personally passionate about working in the space of growth around brands and products and games. You think a lot about the creator economy. You think a lot about how are we enabling creators to build things in the future? How are we setting kind of the foundation for them? And I think that Parallel from the outset is doing a really, really excellent job. And us as Echelon is kind of this like helping to guide and govern a bit from the kind of governance side of this project. We're thinking a lot about where are NFTs and Web3 gaming going to drive the creator economy, because you now have these assets that are valuable to people, that you collect them and you trade them, and creators are already kind of building up this foundation. But Parallel is doing so much work around we're seeing the teases around like AR objects that they're creating and the lore that they're putting behind these things, and they're really setting this foundation for allowing the people who will come along and play this game to be able to build out content around it that isn't just streaming straight from their desktop, or straight from their mobile client. That is really, really exciting to me. But I also am thinking a lot, and we're having these discussions behind the scenes about the new types of creators and organizations that are going to pop up around Web3 gaming. Once you have a system, we're driving what we really feel is a revolution. Like play to earn or play to win or win to earn is really like a new paradigm that I think the traditional gaming set is going to get really quickly. The traditional gaming audience, especially the creator audience, is going to make that connection really quickly. That's going to be one of the easiest hurdles for us to clear, because these creators are constantly thinking about monetizing their time. I talk with streamers who are thinking about how much time am I putting into the YouTube recaps on my streams versus the streams themselves, versus when do I upgrade to better equipment for my content creation. Like the people who play these games and are looking to maybe not make a living, but make something on the side or try to just better create fan bases for themselves, they're looking to gravitate towards the games that give them the tools to do so. And
oh no, I'm sorry, Mick, keep going.
No, I think Web3 gaming and specifically Parallel is going to offer that opportunity in such a novel way. That's going to be really, really, it's an easy get. It's an easy get for people.
Yeah, it's an easy value add. Like I never understand the argument, and this is especially prevalent amongst some legacy gamers will be upset that it's this play to earn, which I would call it play and earn, because like the point is to play, but some will be able to earn. Why are you getting upset that it's possible for someone to be rewarded for their time by having skin in the game, or potentially like winning, digitally native assets that are a part of the game? Like, why is that such a big deal? It kind of reminds me of like the arguments of like, should college athletes in the US, should they be able to have like endorsement deals? Who gives a shit? Like everyone acts like everything has to be so pure and have everyone just play for the love of it, when some people have an asymmetric skill set that is highly valued by the community. And so like, why are we depriving them of the ability to make a living from that? It doesn't make any sense at all to not offer that ability. It doesn't ruin the game. There will be many of us who will play. I'll probably be one of them who will never win anything. But I'll be there to enjoy it, and I'll be there to be a part of that community versus someone else. We obviously know of a few already in the community who, clearly will be top players of Parallel. So, that's I think the goal. It's clearly we're in a world that is just allowing us to do more, with these digital assets incorporated into the game. And whether it's a memory that, like we talked about, you play a game, you collect something, and it's always a memory of, that moment or that game that you played, or whether there's, some like real amount of money on the line, some real skin in the game for you to potentially win from like a tournament. Let people do what they want when they want with their money.
Yeah, and I think also just about how it's again like we are spending. There's a really smart tech writer named Sean Monahan who said that gaming has overtaken music as the central touch point for all of culture. Like we have like reached this like apex where now we connect more over the games that we are into than the music. Like music is more of a backdrop thing,
Wow.
and gaming is like a thing you actively participate in at a cultural level globally. And I really believe that super deeply. And it's made me reconsider a lot about how we think about the fundamentals of gaming. Like we're not in Mario World anymore. The average user spends 2.5 hours in Roblox every single day. More messages are sent in Roblox than in WhatsApp. Like those are insane statistics about the amount of our lives that we are spending in these kind of gaming platforms. And just kind of consider them from this old, our ways of thinking about gaming need to change alongside it. And Web3 is just opening up those doors. I think like Parallel has seen kind of the opportunity, but also just like the natural progression where gaming is going to go, where people are going to want to, again, take the things that they're collecting with them and be able to like build these kind of like, it is this nostalgic feel of like building out your binder all over again in a way that, I don't feel like I'm doing when I play Magic Online or I'm doing when I play Hearthstone or something. It feels like a much, much more natural way of kind of connecting that experience I had when I was younger and when I really loved gaming as hopefully being reintroduced to that love through this.
Mick, what's been top of mind for you and the team at the Echelon Prime Foundation, for you and the other EPs, and of course whatever you're able to share. But yeah, what's maybe any discussions you can share lately, or just some of the hard decisions that are still ahead of us.
Yeah. Right now we are meeting, and we have I think like 4 separate kind of mini working groups, and then the larger kind of working group that we're tackling stuff together. And I don't know how much alpha I can give out on this thing, but we're really focused on, obviously a lot of people, the when question comes up. That's still like top of mind there. We want to make this system around the governance token as foolproof as possible, as like beneficial to the community as possible. There's a lot of discussions around the kind of subgroup that's working specifically on tokenomics around how do we best bring this to life. For me, who I'm kind of interested in the growth side and the marketing side of it, a lot of this is more of like the narratives that we're going to cast around Web3 gaming. We are really of the mind that Echelon is going to be a leading, if not the like kind of single leading, like pop culture Web3 gaming kind of a body, if that makes sense. Like we want, it is 100% my intention for when people who read IGN.com to think of Web3 gaming, for them to think of Parallel. Like that needs to be the number one thing that they think of when they hear it. When they hear about kind of the future revolution that's coming, we got to make that connection for them. And a lot of my work kind of behind the scenes right now is trying to connect the team with the people who can help us craft that narrative, the people who can help when the time is right, push that out, to make sure that we are kind of pulling the levers that we need to really grow this thing. It is always stuck in my mind how much Parallel, Kalos, Fitch, the entire team has been focused on onboarding new people, gamers, into this kind of like Web3 space through this beautiful game. And it is only like Echelon's goal to kind of see that come to fruition even more. So everything that we're doing behind the scenes is like, how do we make this as understandable, as easy to participate for the person who's not familiar with this kind of world that we're in day in and day out?
As someone who is, and this is probably a good place where we can like end the discussion, but as someone who is more of like a growth marketing lead expert, what other industries or sorts of partners do you think about as being like most important in the early days of developing Parallel? Like I know one of those you've called out is we've talked previously a lot about gaming guilds or DAOs, but yeah. Anyways, what are some of those early partners that you think are really important for us to prioritize?
Yeah, it sounds so lame when I say this out loud, but like my mind goes back to like very like specific marketing principles. We think of segmenting demographics, and then we look at like a funnel of bringing people in. So we think about at a high level, who are the people who need to be aware of what's happening with Parallel when it comes
Yeah.
out? Who are the people who we need to reach who literally don't know anything about this space? Well, it's the people who are already maybe spending wallet dollars, and I mean traditional wallet dollars on TCGs. They're going to be interested in it. Gamers on the whole, people who are maybe in experimental gaming. Like there's audience segments that we want to get in front of, and then there's people who, because this new type of gaming is emerging, there are new types of organizations that are popping up around them. So once we capture some of that interest in these people in the funnel, they're going to initially play on their own. But as we've seen with other Web3 games, and as Parallel's already kind of establishing with like the bond system, there's going to be these organizations that pop up around Parallel, this ecosystem of groups that want to compete competitively. So we're thinking about esport, those
Yes.
who want to, obviously earn, and there's kind of like a DeFi side of it. There's groups that are already thinking down that route, and it's all going to overlap with the gamers themselves, because those who kind of entice the top gamers to join their DAO or their guild or their bond, you're going to have like some advantages, from winning big tournaments to just like the notoriety. I can tell you right now who are the top Call of Duty streamers and who are the ones who are unsigned to a team, who are like the free agents. If you play Valorant, you know who those people are as well. Parallel is going to have the exact same type of thing, where we have these enormously like talented players and teams and organizations who are like, come play for us. We want you to like win for us. We want you to teach us how to be better. We want to build a system around you. That seems so far away to many of us, but when the game comes out, like it's going to happen really, really quickly. And so we're trying to set a really strong foundation there behind the scenes.
Yeah, actually, one more thing we should probably highlight. Could you give us the TLDR on, there's a famous agency that Parallel announced they're working with, and forgive me, I've got Disney World on the mind still from a family vacation, but what's the name of the agency, and I guess what's important to know about that?
Again, I'm not privy to every single thing that Parallel is doing from the game studio side, but from what I've gathered, Superconductor is the name of the marketing group.
That's it.
Superconductor has done quite a few really, really high name projects in the past, but notably it's founded by the Russo brothers, and I believe it's the director of several of the Fast and Furious movies. So it's kind of a mirror of the Hollywood world and the kind of entertainment world moving into the marketing and advertising space. This is a really significant and I think super smart partnership. When I saw that Parallel was kind of making this announcement, because obviously those of us who love Parallel know the IP just feels so right for the big screen, or for something larger than just a card game. Like, it sparks your imagination in a way that you just want to see it come to life in a lot of different formats. And I can't speak for the game studio itself, but I'm like super happy that they found a partner that comes from kind of that like world of media and movies, who's going to help kind of bring narratives to life or stories to life around it. Again, I don't know what exactly they're creating together. I think it's probably marketing stuff and storytelling and all of that, but just the announcement itself is so exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, what draws you into Parallel is the cards. I mean, the artwork, I feel so spoiled every time they release a new card, which is basically daily. They release a new design. You look at them and you're just so spoiled, because it's so creative and so, I guess maybe high fidelity is the best way to describe it. It's just, it looks unique. They're in a world where, so much has been done, and, everyone's influenced by someone else. I look at their artwork and I'm like, this really feels like we're looking at like a whole new sort of sci-fi franchise. And I mean, man, having just come back from this like epic Disney World vacation with my kids, and like living through all the like incredible storytelling they have there, and Avengers and all the cool stuff. I just was like, this is the key to the future. Is there's certain technical barriers right now, which thankfully like the Parallel team has found all sorts of creative ways of building in this early space, but the core of what they're doing is storytelling, and it's a joy to see it in these still images. But oh my god, like I
Mhm.
mean, can you imagine this stuff coming to life in like a TV series or web series or movie? Like, sky's the limit in terms of how people will latch on to those, new characters and of course what's being developed in the trading card game. Mick, anything else you wanted to share? I think that just about covers everything, and just really appreciate your time coming on, and like, again, really admire all the work you and the team have been doing with the Echelon Prime Foundation. But yeah, anything else you wanted to share?
I mean, this has been really, really great. Yeah, your end point here of the way that I think Parallel sparks the imagination is really the thing that I walk away with, getting to interact with the team, and the thing that I hope we inspire in others is, we love to get into the details. We love to get into the innovation and everything that's happening. But at the end of the day, if it trips that trigger in your brain, and Parallel really does, you know that it's going to be something really special. And so we just can't wait to keep driving that forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks so much again. Like, such a privilege to get all this time with you, and hoping to have more of your colleagues too from the Echelon Prime Foundation join. And then everyone should follow you here on Twitter at the NFT Island. Reminder, check out Parallel at parallel.life. You can learn more about the Echelon Prime Foundation at echelon.io. And man, I would definitely recommend, like, read the Prime proposal or skim it, or you can look up Yunt Capital, YUNT. They've got some awesome Medium posts that sort of summarize all the key points. And yeah, please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm obviously as deep in the weeds as anyone with all of this. But yeah, Mick, I'm just going to end the broadcast here, and just thanks everyone for joining. And then hopefully we'll be back next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.